Story, I guess, to me. I will say that it definitely has a huge place in my heart because it is unfortunate that black kids are the last ones to be adopted. We're always overlooked. And then we age out of the system, and then we end up with nowhere to go, and we end up in feeling less of our lives than we should. My story, my mother gave me up for adoption. She was actually from the New York area. And so she traveled all the way to Tennessee to basically leave me. And I went through probably I was in an orphanage for about almost a year. And then I went to three different foster homes before my beautiful mama and daddy, Joyce and Joe Boy. I'm sure you've heard Joe Boy on the show because DL calls him John Boy all the time. But anyway, they adopted me when I was about 3.5, 4 years old. And they also adopted my brother. Well, not my birth brother, but they adopted a boy prior to me, and my mom wanted a girl. So that's how I ended up there. And so I was raised on a farm in a small country town called Ottawa, Tennessee. So I grew up with cows and chickens and horses and all of that. I was never allowed to go to the city. But it was an amazing thing for me to be adopted because, again, the odds and the chances of you being adopted, being black, were slim to none. And the funny thing is the nurse told my mother that she didn't want me. She should choose someone else. And yeah, she really said that. And so it was actually my mother's mother who said, no, we want her. And they kept saying, well, you can do better. And it was because I was very standoffish. I didn't want anyone picking me up. And I guess, because my adopted mother, she had lost her daughter. She had had a stillborn. And so they felt that my mom had been through enough trauma and didn't want her to have a little girl that didn't want to be held. And so thank God that my grandmother had the foresight to say, no, but there's something about that little girl. And so they took me home. And yeah, I had a fantastic life. And then years later, I went on a search for my birth parents. And it took 15 years and a gazillion letters. And this is a true story, very true story. In the state of Tennessee, they have what they call closed adoption files, meaning that the person who gives a child up for adoption has a right to anonymity. And so therefore the seal can never be broken. There was a group of people called the Right to Knowers, who were a group of people who had been adopted. And they were like, we deserve to know who our families are. We deserve to know about our birth history because, for medical reasons. And obviously you don't want to wind up marrying your brother and be like, oh my God, I married my brother because I didn't know. And so for 3 days, the law in Tennessee was overturned. And during that time, my letter was one of less than 300 that got through. And then they quickly changed the rules back, changed the law over again, and made it a closed state. So my letter got through. I was one of a very few people lucky enough to get my adoption files. And so with the help of that information in the files and a private investigator, I found out that my mother was Native American. She lived on an Indian reservation in New York called Shinnecock. And so I went looking for her. And I was like, boop, 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 boop. Ta-da! So I know that's so crazy, but that's a true story. I mean, I believe that the universe designates people for certain gifts and certain things. And I think once you realize what that is, as long as you continue to believe that when you speak it, as they say, whether you are religious or not, we all know the power of attraction. We all understand that whatever you put out, you're going to get it back tenfold. So, for me, just feeling like I was such the underdog in every other aspect of my life, I figured if no one was going to cheer for me, I would cheer for me. And I know that sounds so corny, but I swear on everything holy, that's what I did. And I was blessed enough to be surrounded by people who didn't realize that they were pouring into me
Check out the rest of the interview with Jasmine Sanders at IHearThatGirl.com.
One of the top 10 fitness myths that you need to stop believing that 8 glasses of water are necessary per day.
No,
it's not true.
Yeah,
42.
42.
You would ask one of these water drinkers out here. They want you to drown yourself.
Did you put a D on that?
He said drown yourself. He said drown yourself.
He said drown yourself.
It was running together.
Okay.
I don't know what pet peeve I'm sparked up over there, but I know what I said.
We do too. It's on tape.
That's all right.
It's on tape. All right. That's somebody said it ain't drowned.
That's what